simple as possible. So, Mr. Ciffolilli will now make the presentation of the study and the findings, please.
Okay, good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Parliament. My name is Andrea Ciffolilli. My company, Europa, is a research organization based in Rome that carries out analysis and evaluation policy for the European Commission, for national and regional government, as well as for the Parliament. I will skip any introduction since Mrs. Sukova has been very precise in the contents and aims of our study, so I will just move forward to the contents. As a part of the EU semester process, as you probably know, country-specific recommendations of CSRs provide annual tailor-made advice to member states. In the study, we focus on CSR linked to structural reforms and relevant to EC funds, namely those which can be related to the thematic objectives of cohesion policy. CSRs are anticipated each year by an annual growth survey and by country reports. These are detailed socio-economic analysis of the context, which highlight structural reform needs of the member states. When I will mention structural challenges in the following slides, I mean both CSR and additional reform needs from the country reports. So, as it was said, the main objectives of the studies are to assess whether and how structural challenges highlighted during the semester exercise have been taken into account in the 2014-2020 programming, and to draw conclusions on the role of EC funds in structural reforms and the lessons for the preparation of post-2020 programming. We focused on the period from 2012 to 2015, namely on the years most relevant for the preparation of the 2014-2020 operational programs. In this period, we found over 1,500 structural challenges in Europe. Two-thirds of these, about 1,092, are relevant to EC funds. The way the challenges are formulated is very diverse across member states and years. A few contain short and very precise recommendations. Most of them are rather long and general. An important point to make is that, on average, 50% of recommendations each year repeat to some extent challenges highlighted in previous years. Therefore, even though the semester is an annual process, in reality, recommendations concern longer-term issues. Less than one-third of the total number of structural challenges require regulatory change. For example, new laws, new regulations. A similar number of challenges calls for investments. For example, investment in transport, in energy, in the healthcare system, in the labour market, in the environmental infrastructure. 47% require a mix of investment and regulatory changes. Therefore, if we sum up the blue and the red slice in the pie chart that you can see on the screen, we can say that more than 73% of the total recommendations require to some extent an investment, and EC funds have the potential to make a contribution. But what are the recommendations produced during the semester process about? Well, the distribution of structural challenges by policy area shows that the active labour market and network industries are the most important topics addressed in the semester. These are followed by education and training, institutional capacity, business support and innovation. Examples of active labour market structural challenges include the need for promoting activation, labour market participation, integration of young people. Challenges concerning network industries include, for example, the need for supporting investments, efficiency, competition in energy and environment, in transport, in digital infrastructure and services. So, what did we find out on the alignment between the semester and the EC funds? Well, all the EC funds programming documents, from the position papers to the partnership agreements to the operational programs, address structural reforms. The semester was, in most cases, a starting basis for the selection of priorities, especially as regards European Social Fund and European Regional Development Fund. There is a high alignment between the issues raised in the semester and the policy areas addressed by the EC funds. However, the EU must make sure that this alignment is not only on paper, but leads to results in terms of reforms. So let's summarize what are the specific features of these two policy approaches. The EU semester is an annual process, but in practice, as we have seen, recommendations are repeated and require longer-term reforms, 3-5 years as a minimum. Currently, structural challenges are vaguely defined. Often there are no objectives and targets. It's not very clear how member states are to pursue them. On the other hand, EC funds are governed by a multi-annual process with long-term objectives, targets and responsibilities. The funds have been increasingly used in recent times, as you know, to tackle the negative consequences of the crisis. For example, to safeguard existing jobs, to keep afloat firms that were undergoing difficult times. This need for mitigating the effects of the crisis in a way makes it more difficult to pursue structural change. It is also very important to note that cohesion policy is territorial, and each territory may have its own structural challenges which are not necessarily coherent with the challenges of a country as a whole. So achieving a balance between these two policy approaches is very challenging. On the one hand, as regards EC funds, we have subsidiarity, multi-level governance, a key role of private-public partnership in identifying priorities. On the other hand, we have more of a top-down process, the semester. Both should pursue coordination and structural changes that promote cohesion in Europe. In order to achieve a more effective and actual alignment, some adjustment can be proposed in both the semester and EC fund process. So let's move to some suggestions for the post-2020 programming. In the semester, first of all, it is important that there is more coherence across countries and over time in the contents of structural challenges. More precise objectives and targets should be set. For example, we could think about multi-annual recommendations and monitoring, considering that, as I said, we are actually talking about changes that, in the best possible scenario, need several years to be implemented. More attention to regional challenges is also very important. This is crucial to promote ownership and engagement of national regional authorities and reach out towards citizens. On the other hand, EC funds cannot be a cure for everything. They should focus on a limited number of priority reforms, taking into account the amount of resources available in a country or a region. Then their contribution to reforms must be monitored and evaluated if we want to make sure that the results are achieved. An idea could be to have explicit roadmaps defined by member states in consultation with regions, pooling national and regional resources. So the final message is that the current approach to policy coordination is working reasonably well, but there is quite a lot of room for improving the synergies between EU policies and between European and national policies, especially in relation to post-2020, and to promote ownership and engagement of member states, of regions, and EU citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you.